It is 10 a.m. For our Comanche Nation Constitution, the Business Committee in Article 6 meets every month, first weekend of the month at 10 a.m. So we are here. Looks like we don't have a quorum. But with that said, we'll wait around to see if we can get us a quorum. And for the record, Mr. Miller, if you could post that up there, I would appreciate it. For everybody watching worldwide or those living at home, those watching at home, our small audience here. You know, on June 2nd, we had an election. And everybody says, when are we going to finish this election? Well, we had results of the election. This happened, okay? And it dictates that we should have a runoff of chairman, should have a runoff of vice chair, should have a runoff tribal administrator, and should have a runoff of tribal attorney. I'm just gonna quick date you here. So on June the 5th, there was a certification meeting. That was not a legally called meeting. And when a certain action was trying to take place by motion, well, that turns to an illegal meeting because our Constitution says what? Today we're legal. When we call a special meeting, we're legal. And that certification meeting was not legal because an action was taken. Anyway, from that, I filed an injunction due to the fact that there was 3 questions that were left off the ballot. I filed this injunction on June the 8th, okay? And the court waited 20 days to come to a review. And they said, well, part of the election ordinance has this part of the Constitution has this part. Chairman, you have to call a special general counsel. Or you better go to an appellate court. Well, we don't have an appellate court. So I couldn't do the appellate court, and I couldn't find the remedy to call a tribal council about the 3 questions left off. All right, so I called it a jump ball. That's exactly what I called it. Okay, jump ball. Then on June 11th, the head judge, Otopobi, she merged 2 different filings, and she called it CV 2018-0012. Well, after those 20 days, we had an election. Those 3 questions were left off. All right, had an election. When we had the election, it seems like there's another certification meeting. Oh my goodness. Some actions were taken, it went illegal. I walked out. Can't preside over an illegal meeting. So what happened after that? What it was a new election was being called. Well, I challenged the new election by saying ex post facto, which means you can't go on ahead and change things in midstream. Candidate Mr. Comanche filed an intervention, and then interventions were filed by who? By the other law firm about, well, why are you trying to do another election? Then on June 28th, a court order was made. Have the election, and don't hinder the the election coordinator have an election. So I'm just doing a briefing here, nothing political here. This is about process, all process. The process for who? Everybody that's over 18 is a boss in the Comanche Nation. You are our boss. You elected everybody here, you elected a TA, you elected an attorney. You are the boss. So that happened on June 28th. Judge Knight ordered to have the election. Well, on July 7th, our last monthly meeting, I called for what? A legal assembly to confirm the order from the judge to have an election. I don't know. Somebody didn't want to do it. So the quorum won here to not have the election. Then we had another intervention filed saying, hey, how come we're not on the ballot? And that was by Mr. John David Wanee, and by Rosette Law Firm. Then on July 18th, the tribal attorney filed an appeal to the order to have an election. How did that happen? Mr. Tipicani, did you have a legal quorum meeting to order that man right over there, that man, to file an appeal?
I'm not aware of one.
Okay? It's your duty to call a special meeting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was a special meeting called?
No.
Okay. Out of order. Appeal out of order. Now, I believe we passed a motion to have the judge, head judge, bring on appellate judges. But there's two processes before you have an appellate court. One, we have to confirm the appellate judges to hear an appeal. Two, we have to give them what? Their terms of time. And three is the CBC's duty to confirm appellate judges. Well, with all of that rancor after the July 7th meeting, I filed contempt of court, contempt. Follow your order. The vice chair candidate, Lenore Parker, filed contempt. John David Wanee, administrator candidate, filed contempt. And I believe, Mr. Komachi, your attorney filed some other proceeding. A response to the appeal. There you go. Very good. With that said, if you look on the screen, Tuesday, put it on your calendar, Tuesday, that will be August 7th at the Comanche Nation Courthouse. You are hereby notified that the above styled case is set for hearing on motions to intervene, motion for declaratory judgment, and motion of contempt. So, I am hopeful, I'm prayerful, and I'm faithfully hoping our third-party review, which is this court, will take all matters and say, Tribal Council, let's finish your election. I'm hopeful. So, Tuesday, everybody, I have not even gotten this order yet. I had to get a copy. So this order wasn't sent to me. So I got a copy of it, and it said, my name's on there. Although, Lenora Parker, if you're watching, your name's not on there. Mr. Komachi, your name's not on there. I don't understand. But in all the sum of what's happened since April 21st, it's not even a political situation here. It's a situation of process. Process. And I'm going to go deeper into this. We created the court, and our people never could find justice at our CFR court because there was one magistrate up there that said this: tribes should follow their governing documents. Tribes should follow their governing documents. That magistrate is Mr. Judge Phil Lujan. That's the magistrate. As a matter of fact, for 30 years, Judge Lujan sat there and said, this is called the Lujan provision. 25 CFR. 25 stands for 25 Indians. Code of Federal Regulations. Statute 11.118. What does it say? This court cannot intervene in tribal elections, cannot intervene in internal political or internal matters. We cannot intervene. So the tribe, we've been together for 51 years, 51 years as an assembled tribe, as a nation. And Judge Lujan would always hear cases coming out from elections mainly, and he always went to the Lujan provision. So our Comanche Nation court has to be above the Lujan provision. I am hoping and prayerfully hoping that this hearing on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, August 7th, will render us to finish this election. With that said, it is sad to note that we don't have CBC here. This is very sad.
Sir,
Yes,
I have a question.
Sure.
For the attorney.
sure.
Our tribal attorney. represent me as a tribal member, sir, Mr. Grellner. I'm speaking to you. Do you not represent the tribal council? Me as a tribal member?
All 17,000.
All 17,000, not just those that are not present here.
That's correct.
So why is it we cannot move forward with this election?
It's a very good question.
I mean, I don't remember on my ballot when I voted that that educational requirement was to take effect immediately when I voted. Was that not on the ballot?
Can I get a response?
Yes.
Very good questions.
Okay.
I think you should save that for your court. But at this same time,
He asked me a question.
Donnie,
I think I get a response.
with all due respect,
Donnie, do you want a response? Do you want a
I
response?
want to know why you don't represent me and move this election forward
Very good
now.
question. Do you want me to respond?
Yes.
Is it okay with the rest of the CBC?
we don't have a legal quorum, so we're illegal.
Okay, well, then we don't have a legal forum while we're here.
Well,
I'll
after you as a
respond to
tribal member, you can answer them outside this room.
Okay, I'll answer. I'll answer.
Okay.
Another question, Mr. Ortberry. How's our budgets
They're good.
with all programs?
They're good.
So why was a tribal member terminated from the Anadarko outreach due to budgets?
To keep them in budget.
You mean to say that we have money, but you cannot keep an employee hired?
No, they don't have.
It's not
money
the
to
employee
cover.
budget set beforehand, so her salary should have been budgeted for the whole year.
That's right, it should have been by the director.
So the director should be reprimanded then?
That's the director's responsibility to make sure that they've got budget monies to cover their employees and their program management.
So you as a tribal administrator should have been aware that there might not be enough budget money to afford this person employment for the rest of the year. To make
Absolutely, and
changes.
that's why action has to occur when something like that happens.
Shouldn't have happened beforehand, before an employee is terminated.
Well, sure, if we knew that it was gonna be short budgeted, absolutely.
You're the tribal administrator, you're over budget, this
Right,
wasn't
and that's
responsibility of the
director's
program.
responsibility to ensure that it takes place.
Just like with Mr. Parker's termination, reduction in force, and then you turn around and hire people.
Well, you can say what you want, but at the end of the day, that's the director's responsibility. So I
And
don't
you're
go
over the
around the
directors.
director to handle employees, that's the director's responsibility to handle their employees.
Did you direct the director to terminate?
No, I told the director that they had to make a decision about how they were gonna handle the budget.
Thank you, sir.
But our budgets are great.
Evidently not, you terminated an employee.
Well, I didn't terminate an employee, but that's your opinion.
The director was instructed to terminate.
That's your opinion.
That's all I have, sir.
Chairman, is there a quorum? Do I need to step out here and talk to
I wish you would.
you? Is there a quorum?
I think we could put on record what could be used in court, I guess.
Chairman, I do have a question.
Hold on, Mr. Comachate. One thing, just one thing. Today, yeah, on the record, yes. Today, we're gonna take care of, some situations here. Our enrollment list, and Bo, you're here, you're gonna get a grant. And higher education, we're gonna do an MOU with Walters. I am Minden was supposed to be here. Housing Authority, it's a grant. We can't confirm that one for you, Lenora. IT, now this was a big one. IT needs the servers updated. Last time they were updated was 2009. And now we got so many locations and it's gonna call for a sum of money. Man, that should happen today. And of course, who's the new ace? Check, by golly, congratulations. All right. A stands for the Association of Comanche Employees. All right. And we're going to give you signature authority, so that's going to have to wait. And of course, the IRS per capita. Okay. And also the IRS per capita situation. It's not our job as a nation to capture money for the IRS. It's not our job. That's an individual situation. That's individual. And we can't, the IRS specialist we have, she's a real nice lady, and she said, nah, if you guys start indulging in that, then you start getting into lawsuits. And the bank can't do that either. If people want to sit there and pay their IRS issues, let them pay it. If they don't, that's their own. So that's an individual thing. Well, that was gonna happen today. Go ahead, Mr. Comanche.
My question is, on the certification of the past election, the just recent past election,
Yeah.
with the ballot questions on there pertaining to the budget, was that portion passed and ours not, or just everything not passed?
Until we confirm that, when it comes October 1, the people did pass it, and we have to certify it. We do,
Right,
Billy.
but
We
none
do.
of that's been certified.
Not yet,
So our
no.
budget still
No.
stands in limbo for FY 2019.
Come October 1, you betcha, you betcha. You bet your boots.
Okay. Second question. One of my intents today, if we would have had a quorum, was to kind of hold everybody's feet to the fire. You know, last month you asked for a vote from everybody to schedule the election.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's not you guys' duty to schedule that election. It's you guys' duty to certify the candidates to be in the election. Those, you know, there's been a play on words here. And you guys, you know, in prayers all the time, you guys hear, let us be the leaders and not the followers. Let us be the heads and not the tails. That's not the case here. Our leadership is being led. A lot of them are being led. I'm not gonna say everybody. And they're being misguided. Who do we go to? We've tried to go to our court. Our leadership is not listening. The majority of our leadership is not listening to the court. They're trying to file an appeal to an imaginary appellate court.
I'm
You know,
with-
who's the leader here?
Let me put it to you this
And
way.
then on
What-
top of
what-
that,
What
on
does
top
our
of that-
Constitution say, Mr. Billy Comanche?
We need to follow it.
What does it say?
We all know what it says.
The only power that's here is when 7 are in assembly,
That's right.
okay? And what have we had since April 21st? No assembly. We've had partial faction, okay? We have 4 against 2 or 3. And I have to say, honestly, these two gentlemen have been constitutionalists. Now, we follow. I have not did anything out of quorum, not one thing. I did one thing, to try to have a voice, but I already said when we had our little meeting on June 23rd, guess what? It's illegal.
You got an usher.
You're rude. Anyway,
Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
you sure, mate. Billy, hopefully
I still got a little
Tuesday.
bit more that I want to explain to you guys.
I agree totally with you on the fact of the matter that we tried to pass a resolution where the chairman, the vice chairman, TA, and the lawyer were to be in the runoff. And that's not what the court order says. The court order tells the election coordinator to schedule an election for the chairman and vice chairman.
As soon as practical.
And that's what we need to, even without a quorum, we need to tell Bobby Salpity, schedule an election, let's have this election. If we have this election, all of these problems, issues that we have will melt away.
So,
And you're totally right in that. I don't, it's going to be a fight between, if we agree to do that,